Mr. Jason Momoa! I read, though, that you guys did some incredible stuff. I mean, the locations are amazing, but did you drain a river to put this? I read
yeah, actually, Francis is visionary. I mean, both of them are, Stephen and Francis. But Francis is like, what's under this lake? Drain it. Sure enough, there were these stumps. He's like, this is going to be amazing because civilizations would have cut all this down. Now I want grass everywhere. So about 3 months, they just sat and they seeded this grass. And then we showed up, and then we filled it back up once the village was gone. That's the kind of vision that.
What Francis wants, Francis gets.
Jason would play his bass guitar a lot. He would wander around with his bass guitar.
Yeah, I have a problem sitting still, so I just have a bunch of toys. So I'm like, oh look, squirrel, and I'll just like wander off. So it like makes me sit. If I just have my music.
What's that like, trying to put that onto technically a small screen? Although, let's be honest, none of us have small screens anymore. But what's that pressure like to do a battle like that, Jason? Because I mean, that's pretty brutal.
I mean, a lot of it was already set in stone with Francis and everyone designing everything. I mean, you come in and you have a couple ideas, but that whole beautiful, amazing scene had been crafted and written way ahead before I even got there. So I just never done a fight scene where you can't actually look at someone before you're going to get hit. It's basically just fighting with a blindfold. So that whole technique of like learning different ways to grapple and stay connected to the person you're going to hurt. And then just the whole idea of like covering it up with sense so we all know who's who. So you see us spreading that stuff on us. That's so we, can smell and know who we are. And yeah, it was tough. That's hands down the hardest fight scene I've ever done because we're on a wall in the rain, in the mud, wearing, I don't know, like wearing like a football. It's just hardcore leather and it's very...
Or as I call it, Wednesday. It's just a normal Wednesday here. It's fine. Well, let's talk about, is it done like a dance? Is it like, do you kind of go, you're going to do 2 steps forward? Because if you're not necessarily seeing that person, to know they've done their steps at the right time without getting hurt, it must be a
get hurt.
You get hurt. Okay, fine. You just get a punch in the face.
I mean, it is. I mean, like any fight scene, it's definitely choreographed. I mean, it's all blocked out and safety, and we spent a solid month on that fight scene getting everything ready. It's a very intricate with the camera and the elements. It was that full on dance. I mean, that oneer was unbelievable. I'm like that far away from hitting Big Dave. Like it's very, very close, and I can see obviously because I'm actually looking more his way than I'm fighting the guy. So I mean, we get really close. So I've never had a script come to me that was this great. And normally there's a lot of actors in line before I even get there. So Stephen's script it's the best I've ever read. So that was amazing. Francis, that level of director, and then Apple to be able to launch that whole platform. I mean, it was a surreal. I mean, and then to be one of the lead characters in it. I literally read 3 pages and then called my agent back and I said, book this. And because they were a little worried, they're like, oh, you've done this and you've played the barbarian and these kind of roles, but I really want you to read it. And the moment I read it, I'm like, it's not about that. It's about a man trying to keep his family together. And then when I had a conversation with Stephen, he told me his whole idea about it, and I just went, oh. Then I met Francis and I met the producers, and it was it.
In truth, there is only one person on earth who could play Baba Voss. Yeah. It's true.
Thanks, bro. Thanks for writing it. I really needed a job. I needed good material.
I have 2 problems. Number one, I find it hard to believe there's ever a queue of people that before him ever in a job battle. Number 2, you kind of answered this to a degree, but I read that this was the part that you always wished you could play. Is that right? I mean, like in terms of the roles that come to you, this is the one that you felt was the most.
I think everything in my career has led me to this moment to play this character. Because I feel like a lot of the characters I've played, they've never gotten to exercise the rest of their life. Maybe they've died off. Maybe there's too much about their past that we never saw first. Like this starts from the beginning, and we're going to arc through the whole thing. And I get to go through all of these beautiful colors, and I've never experienced that with a lot of my other characters. So I feel like this has everything of me. and obviously the challenge of being blind, but it's a lot. These 8 episodes are unbelievable, and it's hands down the best work I've ever done. It's the best show I've ever been on.
And I'd probably agree with you, except for the fact I've seen your show Baywatch, so I'm just saying.
Don't worry, I'm gonna fucking beat you up when we.
Oh man! Oh!
You don't speak about.
Sorry, children.
Do you know what? Earlier on, they were like, "Look, we put Jason that end, we'll put you this end. I think it's just safest." And I was like, "Hey, man, no, we'll be fine. We've met before on this little movie. I can't remember what it was called, Justice something, and we got on great. I mean, you mocked me when I said I was going to go to the gym. I don't know if you remember that, but you did. Yeah. Laugh it up. I think you said something like, "I doubt you could even spell gym." I think that was.
I apologize, and I won't beat you up afterwards.
God bless you. I love you, man, and I will definitely go see you if you ever do another Justice League.